All right, everyone, welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin, and I'm joined again by Mr. Scott Walters. Always a pleasure to have him on the channel. How's it going, Scott?
Going good. Thanks for having me.
And we have got as I said before we start recording, we've got a bit of a mountain to climb tonight. We are going to be going through the back catalogue of Australian Christian metal legends, Mortification. And this little box set's just the start of it. We've got 14 albums, a bunch of EPs, and 2 albums before we even get into Mortification to go through. So, yeah, let's I guess we'll just get straight into it. So, Scott, you've been I've only heard of this band in the last couple of years. When did you first hear of Mortification, and just how big an impact have this band had in the obviously the Christian metal community? But I think they were one of the bands that managed to have a influence.
Yeah, they did.
Threshold as well, because there was some Nuclear Blast in the early days, and
right. I actually discovered them because I was a fan of Light Force, which is the band that you were just talking about. This one here. So I was a fan of Light Force back in the '80s. It's not the same style of music, but this is Steve Rowe, and of course Steve Rowe was the main player in Mortification, and he was the only main member who played on every single Mortification album. But this was the band that eventually became Mortification. This here, to me, it's a little late. It's like 88 or 89, something like that. But it sounds like that classic new wave of British heavy style, with almost like a mixture of like Tank and early Iron Maiden. So it's got that, driving bass, but then it's got those punky vocals like you heard with like Tank and stuff like that, or Girl School or Motorhead.
Yeah, there's definitely new wave of British heavy metal influence, and a bit of early Rush in there as well on a song like is it Fishes of Men, if I remember correctly? No, Raining with the King. Sorry, is
that's off the Battles demo.
Yeah, I got Battlezone with the original artwork in the inside there. That's cool.
Yeah, I think I did all the artwork on the liner notes on that one, because the cover on the front cover is I created it.
Yeah, ever since I've started having, you've been coming on the channel, I always like hold up and you're like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. So,
yeah, I actually did that one, and I did this one, because here's the original cover of Mystical Thieves, and then we redid it some years later. The only change I made was I made the word Mystical Thieves readable, because it was completely unreadable here.
Yeah, I'll get you. Yeah, that's a really cool cover as well. It's sometimes
it's very
an album
80s looking.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. I like the album a lot. Some people don't like it because they don't like the punky vocals, but I kind of like the mixture of the Iron Maiden Tank aggression with the punky Paul Di'Anno style vocals.
Yeah, I think the vocals are once you get used to them. But I would have thought if you got into Mortification first and then saw Lightfall, especially with the reissues, and you thought, oh, this is pre-Mortification, you would probably get a bit of But I really like this sort of. There's like an urgent, naive energy on these recordings. They're all young.
Young and hungry, exactly.
Going for it, but yeah, it's and there's a lot of charm as well. I like the songs on it, and I mean, I think if Mortification played a couple of these in a live show or something like that, and sort of beat
early on they did they thrashed them up a bit and made them a little more death metal. But yeah, there's
a couple of, because God Rules, which became sort of like the closer of
that was actually on the very last Light Force demo, which is this one.
That was on the right. Okay, so basically, Light Force formed in the late '80s. They put out 2 albums, and then there's a bit of a lineup change.
Yeah, they had 5 demos before those 2 that we just showed. Like
I did a compilation of the demos, which before is that compilation worth getting?
I think it is, because it's a lot of music, and it's pretty raw, but it's not like unlistenable raw.
Right. Okay. Because there's 3 demos on these reissues anyway. So
yeah, the demo stuff is they're packed, and there's 2 CDs full of just demo stuff.
Yeah, and there's a radio interview on there and everything. But this
particular one, this is the Break the Curse demo, This was when the band was moving away in the early 90s, late 89 to 90. They were going into a more thrash metal direction, more death metal direction, and Steve Rowe took over vocals and was doing more of the you know, Chuck growl, you know, the death style growl. And death metal was just beginning to get into, you know, it was just beginning to blossom in the 90s, you know, with bands like Death and Possessed in the late 80s, and then of course then it just exploded in the 90s with all kinds of death metal albums and bands.
Yeah, obviously with Earache Records and then Nuclear Blast as well. To get Carcass and Napalm Death getting signed as well, and
But this was 1990.
So you've got the Lightfall's demo, Break the Curse, which basically becomes the first Mortification demo.
Correct.
Break the Curse. This got reissued in 1990, and so we can
it was
just
on
make a mental
Blast.
note that this gets reissued later, but I guess we can touch on it now because there's about a dozen editions.
So that
I've got a live album with this one,
like it because they went back to the original demo cover. See, that's this cover here on that CD you showed.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, it's in blue color, and then Nuclear Blast put this one out in 1994. So it's basically the same album with a bonus track, and then it's been re-released a bazillion times ever since. So
yeah, I've got one here. I've got this
here's
one.
Here's the gold edition.
This comes with a live album. This is live 1990. But is this the first Mortification show? Because
that is the first show when the band called themselves Mortification. Yes.
Yeah.
You'll notice a few Light Force songs on there too.
Yeah. First ever Mortification crossover concert. So yeah, Light Force basically becomes Mortification, and then the lineup is solidified, and then in 1991 we get the self-titled debut album.
Yes, that one came out in two markets. So that's the that's out of the box set, right?
Yeah, this is the Intense Years 30th anniversary box set that I've got here. I basically just did a one-stop shop and
a UK company called Soundmass put that out. But there was actually two covers on that one, both released at the same time. So they were a Christian band, so they were released into a Christian market, which means they were in Christian bookstores, and they were worried that people were going to think this was offensive, which I don't know why. I mean, it's kind of a physical depiction of, the lake of fire from the Book of Revelation and souls being thrown in.
I thought this was also a bit of a play on Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel.
I think so, and also it's also kind of it's supposed to be like almost puking. So it plays off several different things. But the drummer, Jason Sherlock, actually is this is a hand illustration by him. He actually designed the logo too. So both these covers are by him.
Drawn. I mean, yeah, this is the crazy thing about artwork back in those days as well. When you I remember the first Napalm Death album. Where's that? Jeff Waters from Carcass did this in his kitchen.
Yeah, and that's iconic.
Yeah,
and iconic album cover.
Yeah,
but hand drawn cover, and then this is definitely, I don't know what you call it, but I would just say it's grunt and grind death metal. I mean, there's not a lot of blast beats in it. There's a lot of thrashy stuff. Kind of reminds me of, like I said, early Death, but it's a little more death metal than early Death because Death was leaned a little towards the thrash. These guys lean a little more towards death metal with thrash leanings as well.
Yeah, they're quite thick, sort of muddy sort of riffs as well, especially on, for example, Until the End, the opening track.
Yes,
it's got that real nice, thick, Morbid Angel kind of feel to it. Love the main riff on that song. Sorry, just go for the lineup quickly. So we've got Steve Rowe on vocals and bass.
Yep.
Then Jason Sherlock on drums and Michael Carlisle, is it, on guitar?
Correct. Yep, that's correct.
And Roger Martinez from Vengeance Rising, who me and Scott
produced the album.
He produced the album, did backing vocals as well. Me and Scott did a retrospective of Vengeance Rising a few months back as well. And apparently, when Roger wanted to use this album as the new Vengeance Rising album. So it was like keep the music, and he does the vocals. And Steve went, nope. It's
because
all mine.
Intense Records flew him out to Australia to produce the album for him. So, yeah, but I really like. It's still one of my favorite Mortification albums. I love the simplicity of it. I love I mean, it's growled, but I can understand the vocals maybe because I've heard it a bazillion times. And most of these songs they continue to play live all throughout the there's all throughout the years, the decades that they played live.
Brutal Warfare was a mainstay. That's got that classic chorus. Bathed in Blood is nice and fast and thrashy. Got a nice solo on that track. Satan's Doom's got like this nice choppy, groovy.
I thought I grabbed the vinyl too.
Yeah, nice.
And this one was never on vinyl until just 2014. Soundmass put this out. It was only on CD and cassette back in the day.
Oh right, okay.
And it was originally only released on Intense Records. Later on, I believe it was Nuclear Blast when re-released it after the fact.
Right. Okay.
Oh, this is funny. Here's another version of the silver version of Break the Curse. There's a ton of versions of Break the Curse.
I want to get the one with the DVD as well. That's the only thing I haven't got actually. Is Mortification. They love a live album. So we've got, like I say, got 14 studio albums we're going to go through here, but there's probably just as many live albums. But the DVDs I've found a bit hard to get hold of, but I was a little apprehensive of getting them anyway because different region codes. I didn't want to pay. And mind you, a lot of the stuff I found on YouTube anyway, looks like a lot of their DVDs have been uploaded on Mortification's YouTube channel. So, but so we start off on a good foot, really, starting off with traditional heavy metal, evolving into a more death thrash metal with a bit of grindcore as well for the debut album. And then just a year later, and this is the thing, they are banging an album out a year every time.
Yep.
So
and the same touring too. They never stopped touring.
Yeah. So we got what many consider the classic or the masterpiece, Scrolls of the Megaloth. This is the same lineup as the last album.
Mm-hmm.
This again is just from the box set. This time is produced by Doug Sanders.
Yep. And released on Nuclear Blast.
I think for me, I've got some favorites. Well, yeah, this is probably the masterpiece. I've got my favorites coming up. I think there's another masterpiece coming. But
I got a few that I consider masterpieces, but this is one of them.
These are the two to start with, though, isn't it? If you're new to Mortification and you're coming in blind, I think the first two albums are the ones to go with. And this is the one as well that many, sort of mainstream death metalers will recognize this one. I was talking to a friend. I was out with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and we was talking about Christian metal and whatnot. And he's like, "Oh no, some great bands." He was like, "I remember Mortification, Scrolls of the Megaloth. That album rolled." So, yeah, this one. I think didn't they put out a split with Benediction as well before this? I think it was that.
I have, oddly enough, I have a split. Right. Let's see. I brought it over here because I knew we would talk about it. But what did I do with it? I just have crap everywhere over here. Yeah, I have a split.
Yeah,
but
I can't imagine what that's like.
This
here, they might where the camera shows. This is the tidy bit. All that is bonkers. So
yeah, mine's not even tidy here right now. So yeah, I have this odd Scrolls of the Megaloth promo CD, but it's split with Gorefest.
I was Gorefest for some reason. I thought it was Benediction. Yeah.
Yeah, so Gorefest False and Scrolls of the Megaloth. And then they also had a tune on that huge compilation that came out around that time that everybody loved that compilation. Do you remember it? There was like, dadgummit, what's the name of that compilation? I'll find it in a second.
Is that the one? Maybe that's the one I was thinking with Benediction. Is that a 4-way split? Something like that?
It's got a bunch of different Nuclear Blast bands on it, but the song, I don't know. It'll come to me. But yeah, there was a big not Napalm Death. What's the name of the record? Nuclear Blast. There was a big Nuclear Blast compilation that was just death metal, and Mortification was included on there as well as Warfest and all those. There was so many death metal bands on Nuclear Blast back in the day.
Oh yeah, the 90s was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, it was exploding. So
it was nuts.
But yeah, this is a great album. A death metal album that's over an hour long. But yeah, great songs on here. We got Terminate Damnation, Nice chugging riffage on that. It's real heavy on this one. The first 3 songs of this album are over 6 minutes, and it has an 11-minute album closer. It's nice and doomy and slow. Razor Chalice got a nice catchy main riff. I like the keyboards on that as well. Nice little finishing touch. And then we've got, what's the word? Lymphosarcoma.
Lymphosarcoma. Which is a song about cancer, which Steve's brother had, and that's what the song is about. And then, several years later, Steve ended up getting cancer.
Yeah, but we'll cross that. Yeah, we'll talk about that, guys. Legendary how he's fought that.
But yeah, there's not a bad song on here. Nocturnal's freaking awesome. Terminate Damnation is it. I don't know how anybody can humanly play that fast. The title track, Scrolls of the Megaloth's always been one of my favorite. Necromanicide's great track. Ancient Prophecies, killer. Well, it's a very long song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no, awesome album, and they don't stop for breath. Again, a year goes by. I don't think it's even a year between albums at this point.
There's another version that I have.
Is that one worth? Well, I've seen those ones with the dark slipcase, but is this box set I've got here?
The difference is on disc 2. Well, first of all, it's got more photos in the booklet than even that one has. But on disc 2, it has 8 of the original demo tracks from Scrolls of the Megaloth, plus an additional 7 live tracks from 1992.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, it's only. Geez, how many times can you rebuy an album? But I wouldn't have probably bought this one if not for the fact that I did the artwork for it and I got a free copy. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Matter of fact, there's one of these too. See, of the first album. So, with the
they've done the first couple of albums, didn't they?
They did the first 3. Yeah.
Well?
Yep, Sound Mass. So, and then the album we're about to get into, they also did, which is this one here. So, whoops. No, it's not. It's this one here.
Right. Yep. So, Post Momentary Affliction. A year later, I think Metal Archives messed up slightly because according to Metal Archives, this is first. But
nope,
they introduced a new album on this. So yeah, I think Metal Archives, mind you, I think it's easily done. But yeah, so Post Momentary Affliction, another album with multiple. Yeah, I like the one on the left. That's my favorite. Yeah.
This is the original Nuclear Blast cover, and this is the Intense Records cover. So it came out on 2 labels at the same time. In the United States, it was on Intense. In Europe, it was on Nuclear Blast.
Yeah, I've got you get both.
Yeah, they're both on that one. So you can just put either one through the case. But,
it's I mean, I think that was. I don't think they thought about it at the time, but it was a good idea to have multiple artworks for different things because you know what collectors are like. They got to have both. So
yeah. I think the Nuclear Blast rejected this cover because it was too religious looking. So they wanted something less religious looking. So they went with this, which was more generic looking, I guess. I like them both.
Does look like that looks like a classic death metal album cover, doesn't it? Like you can put any logo on that.
This one here, Jason Sherlock again, hand drawing.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we've got the same lineup and the same producer, and I really like Human Condition on this one. The Distarnished Priest has it sort of it shows a bit of a shift in style on this one. They kind of start going in a bit more of a thrashier.
Yep. You can start hearing a lot of Manowar influences as well in this. Steve Rowe was a huge Manowar fan.
Yeah.
Joey DeMaio was one of his, bass heroes, so you can really hear a lot of that because there's a lot of crazy bass work on this album.
Well, I hear a lot of Steve Harris as well.
Oh, yeah, it's another one of his favorites. Yeah, sure enough. But yeah, there's not a bad song on here. Human Condition, Distarnished Priest, Grind Planetarium is just straight up death metal song.
Great song.
Impulsation is actually a song from an old demo song from Light Force that they finally got out there and got it recorded as a Mortification track. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. So you can't go wrong with any of the first 3 albums in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we get our first live album. That's a awesome cover.
Yes, that's not the original cover.
Is it not?
No, it's not. The original cover, which I did not grab because I'm an idiot.
I might have. Oh, is that this one here?
Yes, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know what the label was thinking. Steve told me that was completely and totally the label's doing, which was Intense Records back in the time. Nuclear Blast did not put that one out. It was just Intense Records that put that one out.
Yeah, no.
It also simultaneously came out on cassette, CD, and VHS tape back then. There was no vinyl. And then they finally got the vinyl. And yeah, this is a much better cover. The original drawing that this was done was a guy named Troy Dunmeyer, who was a comic book artist. It was just black and white. And then I went in and colorized. Actually, me and my daughter-in-law went in and colorized it. She colored it with. She went in and hand colored it. I printed it out and I scanned it, and then she colored it in with pencil. And then I went in and brightened up and made and added the logo and put all the other stuff in there, and then brightened up the colors. And so it was a kind of a mixture of the two of us doing it.
I didn't realize you was responsible for it. So this is a fairly new. Is this fairly new then?
Yes, 2019 cover.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. As recent as that.
Yeah. So
well done. And
but it is well done, except one small detail that ticked off a lot of Mortification fans for silly reasons. It's a cartoon. It's not supposed to be. I mean, obviously the drummer wasn't actually playing with bones, right? But what they were mad about was Michael Carlisle is a left-handed guitar player, and in the picture he's right-handed. I know. Like I said, does the drummer actually play with bones?
Well, that's it. This is going in the bin. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, it's ridiculous, but the other thing about this one is there's a song missing that was on the original.
Oh, okay.
That's on every single version ever since the original. They did a cover of Bloodgood's Black Snake.
Right.
Which despite being a huge Mortification fan, they butchered.
Oh,
but so whenever it's been re-released, because of licensing problems, they had to take it off.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it's not a bad thing because they really butchered the song.
Right. Okay. Right. So 1994. We get a new drummer now. Phil Curtis.
Yep.
No, Phil Curtis Gibson. Sorry. And this next album is produced by Mark McCormack, who would go on to pretty much be a mainstay producer for the band. I think there might be one here and there he might miss, but if they do, they always come back to him. This one's got a couple of different covers as well. This is Blood World.
And it was a stylistic change, and it was also the reason the drummer left, because he wanted to go heavier, faster, and that was this one, Blood World, was a big stylistic change.
Yeah, this is quite an atmospheric album and quite
bit groovy at times.
What I find going forward, I'm reminded quite a lot of Prong. Going for there's big sort of off kilter riffs as well, and but yeah, Blood of the Light, it's got crazy drums, crazy riffage on that one as well, big grooves.
And Symbiosis, I believe Symbiosis was on the live album that was released before it.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. The last track as well, Dark Illusions, it's got a bit of a deep purpley feel on it with the organ.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people were down on this one when it came out. This one again has multiple covers. They're all similar, but there's many different covers.
You got both on this one
because they also changed their logo on it. That's the original cover right there, with the weird logo on it.
All right. Yeah.
And then this one was a recreated one. I actually like this one better because it just pops more.
Yeah. This one looks a bit more.
But yeah, this one caused a rift because it was a definite departure from death metal. It was no longer the straightforward death metal or even thrash. You know, they were doing all different stuff.
If I'm understanding it correctly, they weren't really accepted by the death metal world anyway. So they went, well, there's no point in playing to an audience. There's no point if we're not wanted. We'll change.
Yeah, they were playing a lot of the big festivals and stuff like that, but they were also getting a lot of pushback from, especially in Norway. They were getting death threats in Norway because they were touring a lot, especially for that album and this album. And The death threats for that Blood World tour, man, they were just all over the place. So, Adam, I remember because it was back then, it wasn't internet, so they were just getting printed and people were seeing them through other ways, you know. But anyhow, I thought I'd show this too because it's kind of a cool split. So this is a Blood World Tourniquet split that they released. The record label released as a promotional thing. I don't know if it was just sent to radio stations or whatnot, but it actually has several songs from each album, and then it's got some, like, you know, just the band talking about history and stuff like that on them. Yeah, this was put out by Intense Records as well, I think.
Yeah, I think Tourniquet is another great band. I've got a couple of their albums, but some of their stuff's harder to get hold of than others.
Yeah,
like one of them, I'm £30 is the cheapest I can find, and that's before postage.
Which albums are you looking? Oh, Tourniquet you're talking about?
Yeah, the it's got Carl Sanders from Nile doing a. Let me quickly look it up.
Cool.
I'll know it when I see it. It's and antiseptic bloodbath.
Oh, okay, cool. I know what you're talking about.
That's hard to get hold of, that one. But bit by bit, I'm working on the collection for Tourniquet. I just ordered Flood as well, 2 albums.
Oh, those are good. You're gonna like them.
Oh yeah, check them out.
Did you order the CD or the vinyl?
CD. Cool. Although for what I paid, I might as well have got the vinyl.
So next, so while they were touring for this album in the United States for Blood World, they did a huge tour, and that's where I met Steve. Was on the tour, and my band was actually opening for them, and we booked the gig for them to come out and play. It was a huge gig, man. We packed the place out. It was us.
So you Ultimatum. This is Ultimatum, yeah.
Yeah. So Ultimatum, Jesus Freaks, and Mortification played the show. Just a packed house. It was a fantastic show. Well, Steve stood on the side of the stage the entire time we played and never left. I mean, he just stood there the whole time. As soon as we got off stage the band packed up the stuff, I always ran to the table to do the merch stuff. And Steve came up to my merch table, and after the crowd kind of left and bought what they wanted, Steve came up to me. He goes, "I want to buy everything left on your merch table." He's like, "I like what?" He goes, like, "Yep, I want all your cassettes. I want all your CDs. He goes, "I want everything. I want all your T-shirts." He goes, "I'm going to take it on tour with me through the United States, and I'm going to sell it at Mortification shows." And he goes, and also he goes, "Next time we record a song, send it to me because I want to put you on a compilation." So that's how I ended up becoming friends with Steve Rowe, is because of that one show, and I became friends with him ever since.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit to promote other bands as well. He's produced and executively produced a couple of albums, hasn't he?
A lot.
Ethereal Scourge. I showed that off the other day. There's another band in Brazil. I forget their name.
There's quite a few of them. Yeah, Ethereal Scourge is one, and Metanoia is another one that I like.
Metanoia, yeah, I've heard of them. Not got anything.
But yeah, he opened up Row Productions.
Row Productions.
Yeah, that was Row Productions was his label, and then Row Productions got picked up by Diamante, which is a huge distribution company in the United States. So yeah, that was a big deal when he did that, because then he started signing bands and putting out records for other bands, and that was when he went into the studio and recorded the next album. Was in the United States. He recorded.
There's a nice little segue. Yep.
He recorded this with George Ochoa from Deliverance.
Right.
He was the engineer producer guy. Yep.
Yeah,
and he also played on it a little bit, as I recall. Yeah.
So George, you say his surname again, because I can't.
George Ochoa.
Ochoa, there. So he produced it, as well as played guitar and keyboards. We've got Bill Rice on drums, Jason Campbell on guitar rhythm, and David Kellogg on guitar lead. So yeah,
right, and all those guys were from his U.S. touring band, because when he came over to play that U.S. tour, none of the other guys came with him, so it was just him, and then he had musicians here who toured with him and did the album, and that's who recorded that album.
So that's the lineup with this out, right? Cool.
And I've always loved. It's always been one of my favorite Mortification covers.
Yeah,
I've always loved that cover. So even the crazy stuff in the back.
It's kind of a play on the band's logo as well, isn't it?
Correct.
Because on that alternative thing on Bloodworld. There's the 3 swords.
Yeah, it's been reissued a bazillion times. Again, a stylistic change. They were obviously highly influenced by Sepultura.
Yes.
They were wanting a very tribal sound, which is where you get the Primitive Rhythm Machine. And the original CD, I didn't grab it. Do you have the original CD? Had an artwork that was really primitive, all these like drums mixed in with all these spikes. It was in the back of the CD.
It probably is on this because everything so far has got alternative.
Yeah,
is it? No.
I like it a lot. The recording.
No, I've not got nothing. Got this in there.
Yeah, I don't see it here either. But yeah, here's the insert for this one. It's just Steve's the only one pictured. Like I said, it was really Steve and a hired guns for this particular album.
Yeah.
But I do really like it. Matter of fact, Gut Wrench is one of my favorite songs on there. And when my band recorded our Lex Metalis album, we recorded a cover of that song. And my guitar player, I begged, we need to do this song. I love this song. And they were all Mortification fans, but they were like, okay, but we got to change that riff. It's too boring. So we changed the main riff and just added a bit of a chug to it. And then when the album came out and I sent a copy to Steve, he immediately calls me up the day he gets it. He's like, dude, you did that song better than we did it. And that was like the biggest compliment to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I love the riff change you made. So
you're always going to make Ben nervous anyway. Are they going to like it, or are they going to, so when he goes, yeah, you did an even better job, then that's awesome. Right, so we're finished with the box set.
Yep.
Let's move this all aside. Next up, then, this is for me. So we've got a new lineup. So 1996 again. Not even had a break.
Nope, no break. Came back to Australia. Got 2 new musicians, and
so we got Lincoln Bowen, on guitar, and he stays with the band pretty much now, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he was with them a lot. Yeah, he was in and out for a couple albums, but yeah, he pretty much stayed with them to the end. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Keith Bannister on drums,
who stayed with him for many years.
This is produced by Mark McCormack as well, and
it's oddly enough, Keith Bannister was their Australian roadie, and the drum tech for Jason Sherlock, and he did not play drums when he started roadieing for them in 1990. He learned to play drums in 1990, so by this time this album came out, he was not. I don't want to say anything bad about it.
He learned to play drums in order to join the band.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, I was trying not to make it sound like it's something bad. So
these, one of these albums comes with an interview. Well, a couple of them do come with interviews. So yeah, Steve explains.
But that. this one is hugely, and I mean hugely, influenced by Manowar.
Yes.
The very first track, Envision Evangeline, I mean that is very much in the style of a Manowar song with a bit of groove, and of course you don't have the clean vocals. He's got more of a thrashy grunt vocal going on here. He's not doing the growl thing at all anymore.
To me, this is the band's masterpiece. This is my favorite album.
I love this album. I play it a lot. I still do.
When I first heard this opening track, I was blown away by it. Again, if you say it's influenced by Manowar, I hear a lot of Iron Maiden in there as well. In fact, wasn't this 1996, was it? I mean, this would have been smack bang in the middle of the Blaze Bayley era as well. And that was when Maiden went full prog.
And it's just driving me crazy. I can't remember the name of the... Hang on.
Probably a bit of Rush as well, 2112, because mind you, Manowar did the same thing, didn't they, with Achilles, where they did that one song, did the whole first half of the album. Yeah. And so basically this opens with a 20-minute track in 6 or 7 parts. But if it flies by, it's really
it's basically that. I mean, if you're not offended by the Bible or Christian lyrics, which I'm not. I'm just a metal fan. But the first song is basically a synopsis of the first 4 books of the New Testament, the Gospels.
Yeah.
But seen through the eyes of the angels. So it's kind of a different perspective. It's not necessarily all 100% biblical, but it's an interesting take on that. You know, it's an artistic take on it. What is what it is.
Yeah, and then the rest of the album is just as good. What do you get?
Yeah, and Noah Was a Knower is a kind of a punky thrash song. Northern Storm, definitely a groover.
So you get 7. Yeah, so you got the opening track, 20-minute long epic, and then next side you get 7 songs, and then it's pretty much business as usual. It's a nice. Going forward, you get a nice mixture of. They're more of got a thrash basis rather than a death metal basis now. So sort of thrash sort of just leans into death, but they can kind of go wherever they want with it. They put in a bit of classic metal, put a bit of melody when they need. You know, they kind of just sit nicely in between all the genres now, and then just kind of swing in whatever direction they want going forward.
And when they went out on tour, and this is when Row Productions was. Actually, I grabbed, here's the my original Nuclear Blast version, autographed by the band on the front cover. I actually still have the promo poster from that tour too, because again, on this tour we also played with them. He tried to bring us out on tour with him, but we just couldn't afford it, because the way it worked is they were the headline band and we had to make all our money off of our table sales.
Yeah,
and then we had to provide our own van and trailer. And in our trailer, we had to pool all Mortification's gear and our gear, because they were here from Australia, so they didn't have anything to do it with. So we just couldn't do it.
You're not going to make that the amount of money you have to put up front. You're not going to make that on t-shirts and.
So we just couldn't swing it. But we did play some shows with them regardless. When they were anywhere near here, we played, because again I was good friends with Steve. But that's when they released the 2 EPs.
Yeah, I got one of them, and
they've been re-released. They've been re-released and put on other double edition of CDs and bonus tracks on CDs, but basically what you got is 2 live
reissued. Yeah.
And that one in particular has got 10 songs on it. They call it an EP, but it's got 10 songs on it. But then it's got 1, 2, 3 of the songs are under a minute each. They're just those fast thrash SOD type songs.
Yeah.
Killing Evil, JGSH, Jesus grinds Satan's head, and the majestic infiltration of order, aka God rules.
Yeah, and that's always like a closer. Which started in the Lightfalls days, wasn't it? They started in the live recordings and the bonus tracks of the Lightfalls zones. They actually started playing that then. Yes, you got Live Without Fear, and then God. Was it Noah sat down? And Noah sat down and listened to the live EP, the Mortification live EP, while having a coffee. Yeah. This was definitely Steve Rowe's sense of humor. He was definitely a joker, man. You'd never seen a death metal band. He'd be up there, growling and grinding and smiling at the same time, because he just loved what he was doing. But man, he would stop playing and he'd tell a joke. Yeah. I'll never forget the joke he told on this tour. I was watching up there playing, and they stopped the show, and he says, "Why did the chicken cross the road?" And everybody's like, "Why?" "Well, to get to the other side." And everybody's just like, "That's dumb," and they kind of chuckle. And he goes, "Why did the squirrel get to cross the road?" Everybody's, "Why?" "Because he was stapled to the chicken. He was a punk rock chicken." It was like the whole crowd just lost it. It was just such a bizarre joke. It was stapled to the chicken. It was a punk rock chicken. Yeah. So, right. So then, have you got anything to show off, or? No, I mean, there was a compilation. There was a best of 5 years came out right about that time, which I do have. I didn't grab it, but there was so many compilations that came out of Mortification over the years. But this is the time when he got home from the tour and he ended up getting sick. Yeah. So we, like I say, what they've released so far is a massive catalog compared to most bands. And even this is the longest we have as a gap. And even then it's like 2 years. It's nothing in the big scheme of things. So he had acute lymphatic leukemia. He was clinically dead 3 or 4 times. He should not have lived. He had 2 different bone marrow transplants. The pain and agony he went through was just incredible. I was going to a little itty bitty Spanish church in New Mexico at the time, maybe a church of 100 people, and
I went to my church congregation and I let them know about what was going on with Steve, and they were like, let's raise some money. And they raised several $100s for him in this little church. That just blew me away that they don't even know this guy. And they just raised money for him because he wasn't making any money anymore. He couldn't tour. He couldn't play. But he finally got through it. But he couldn't play bass anymore. His brain went through so much crap he couldn't play. He had to relearn to play bass all over again. Crazy. So and then they recorded the album, and everybody was assuming he was going to die. While he was under and still sick, this was released. This is Modification, and it was put out to raise money for his hospital bills, and it was all different bands either writing new material as tribute to him or playing Mortification songs. And Mortification, actually, without Steve, the guys who were currently in Mortification did a song. They did Metal Missionary from the Light Force.
From Light Force, yeah.
And they did a thrash version of it with all these different guests from Mortification playing on the song. So it was cool. This is kind of a cool.
I'll have to look out for that. I bet that's worth a pretty penny now, though.
It might be, but yeah, it's called Modification. It's got, Terra Maze on there, which you might know. Wrench, who toured with those guys like 2 or 3 years in a row. Roseanne's Raiders, which was an Australian hard rock band, who Steve was always a big fan of. So yeah, it's kind of a cool thing. But what really, when this thing came out, the next album, this is when we were all just like, Steve's back.
Yeah. And
a lot of people hated the album because it was way different in style.
Yeah.
I was ecstatic over it because I was praying so hard for him to get through this, and just the fact that he recorded a new album was a miracle.
The fact that you had a new album at all, yeah, I bet it would have been.
Excuse me. Pretty much most of the album is about the struggles he went through. The front cover is from a dream that he had when he was literally on death's bed, death's door, clinically dead according to the doctors, and he basically had this angel reach his arm down and whether it was in reality or in a dream, basically told him, "I'm not done with you yet. You need to go back." And that's what this cover depicts. But even in the song, he talks about the angel covering his face so that Steve wouldn't be scared or something like that, which I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, you can see the faces covered in the cover and everything. But the back cover of the kind of shows his spiritual life and his physical life living in that time, where he was on death's door and basically in hell.
That's the cover to a live album that comes. Yeah,
right. That's going to be coming up soon too. But yeah, it was also used for it was also artwork used for this too. So
I didn't realize that because it's not on.
Yeah, it wasn't on the original. It was on the later reissues, but it was made for it, but it just wasn't used originally.
Yeah,
but I love the album. I still like it.
Picture of Steve there in hospital, so it gives you the background and the.
Yep.
Yeah, but this is a really good album. I mean, it's a changing, slight changing style, but it's still Mortification, Now,
Steve sent 3 demos from this album before it came out, and they were more death metal than what ended up coming out.
Right. Okay.
But those demos ended up getting re-released on an album we'll be showing shortly. But I still love this. I love that At War with War is a great song
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, At War with War is a great song. Influence is a killer song. Drain Dweller is a great song. Unified Truth is a great. I like the whole album, but again, it's not
welcome to the Palindrome reminds me a little bit of the Ramones as well, especially that opening riff. Yeah.
And that's the thing, that album and the one we showed before it is Lincoln and Keith were actually writing songs too. So you've got 3 different writers on this album and the previous album, whereas before that was mostly Steve, on like Primitive Rhythm Machine. He was the only guy left in the band. Blood World was mostly Steve because he was really the only guy left in the band. And the first 3 had 3 different writers. So you get a different sound because you got different writers.
Right. Yeah. But no, it's a great addition to the catalogue. And then, there's just no stopping this band. A year later, again.
Oh, and he toured. With a colostomy bag and everything. I again, Ultimatum played with him. They opened up for us this time because they played in Albuquerque, and at the time it was 1998. We had a huge following here, so the place was packed. He played before us. Ended up staying and watching the first 4 songs, but then he was just so sick still, he had to go back to his hotel. But I can't believe he toured for that album.
Yeah, he would have been struggling as well with fatigue.
Oh yeah, he played every show he played on. He had to play on a stool. He couldn't stand.
Yeah.
And he carried it one of those little basses that looked like you remember the police bass that Sting used to always play, that little teeny square about that big. That's what he was playing on because he had to have something light. So, but yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to see them touring.
Yeah, guy's an absolute legend. So, yeah, and without even messing about, next now we got again a year. He has that little 2-year gap. That was it. And in that time, he's fighting cancer. Comes back, 1996, 1998. Sorry, with Triumph of Mercy. Then bang, a tour. Then a year later, we get Hammer of God. Same lineup. And I like the use of keyboards on this one. This one's got some really cool atmosphere on it.
This is actually one of my favorite albums by them.
Yeah.
I think Metal Crusade and Martyrs and Lock Up the Night.
I love Metal Crusade's an awesome song. Yeah.
I think those first 3 songs on here are some of the best songs they ever wrote.
And Lock Up the Night, which you just mentioned, again, nice Deep Purple organ on that as well, because you've got keyboards, but it goes into that nice John Lord, you know. What's another good one? Pearl.
In the Woods. Oh,
nice. It goes like all nice and atmospheric with the piano.
That's atmospheric. Yeah. In the Woods got a huge heavy groove. I love that song too. And then the title track, Hammer of God, was a great song as well. And then DWAM was another one of those short, fast punk influenced tracks.
Yeah, so a little bit of everything on there for everyone, really. And then you got the medley in the bonus tracks. This is the time they recorded God Rules as well. At this point, they would it'd just be in the live. So then we get after that the live album, 10 years.
Oh, and DWAM stands for Daniel Was a Musher.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, another thing that's kind of cool, and I don't know if you can see Steve Rowe's picture right there.
Oh, yeah,
he's wearing an Ultimatum shirt, so I thought that was awesome. You
sure you didn't edit that in with the?
You know what? I actually did work on this, but they sent me the photographs to use, so yeah. But that shirt is from our first, when I told you he bought everything from us. That's one of our very first shirts that we had. So
yeah. Then we get a live album, 10 years. Live Not Dead. Awesome artwork and a really good set. I mean, you got with all these reissues, you get more live stuff than you know what to do with. But some of the bonus stuff, the recording's can be a bit rough now and then. But they were a great. I could tell though that they were a great live band, and you got a great collection of live albums, and they've all got great sets, all nice and varied, and excuse me, and but a great album.
They came back and they toured America again from Australia on that album. And I think that was the Hammer of God was the last time they toured the US.
Right. Okay. There was I just want to reference a book as well. There's a biography of Steve Rowe.
Oh, there's a biography of Steve Rowe, and at the same time he released
Metal Missionary. Yeah.
He actually released a short fantasy story as well that same year Steve Rowe did.
Okay.
I have that as well.
The Metal Missionary by Vic Campbell. Getting hold of the book was a bit tricky, and getting hold of the book in English was tricky enough. But I got a Kindle edition, but I was reading that whilst going through this.
I read that book too. I was amazed at how much information was in there.
Yeah.
Considering all the crap he went through, I'm amazed that
it was quite it was handy to read whilst listening to all these albums as well and going through. But right, next album then again, 2001. The silver cord is severed.
Right, and do you have the original cover?
No, and
is it on the other side of that one by any chance?
Oh, maybe. But I much prefer this one. Yeah.
I'm gonna go grab it. I got it right over here. It'll take me 2 seconds.
No, it's not in this one at all. You get the Noah EP.
Yeah, the original cover was horrible. This is a Nuclear Blast edition.
Yeah.
And the Nuclear Blast edition, see, the Nuclear Blast didn't put out the live album, but when they put this album out, they released it as a 2D CD set with the live album on the second disc.
Is that the 10 years?
10 years live, not dead.
Yeah.
Yep. And they didn't use that cover at all. They just used, this is what they used, was just some live photos and stuff.
Yeah. No,
So,
did you do that?
Yes. Now, so when they wanted to reissue the album, everybody hated the cover, so they came to me and they said, this was the original idea for the cover. The silver cord is basically
that's a
biblical term from the Old Testament for the spine. So if your spine was severed, you were basically dead. Or your spine was ripped out of your body, you're dead. That's kind of where that came from. So yeah, they came to me and they said they wanted it to reference that more. And I originally made it as a guitar, and I really liked the guitar because I had a whammy bar on it and it just looked cool. And then he came back and said, no, it's got to be a bass guitar. So this was actually the second cover. So I did end up using, I think, if you do have the CD, look on somewhere I ended up using the guitar somewhere else in there. I can't remember where it was, but I'm like, I'm not wasting this artwork. I'm using it somewhere else.
Let's see.
Oh, there it is. Here it is on the record. If you look closely, you can see there's the guitar version of it.
So, yeah. I don't think there's anything. Oh, tell you what, it might be on the. Oh, I got that in a.
Yep, there's the guitar.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like that. I like the cover a lot. I mean, it reminds me, honestly, and I'm not even gonna lie. I got the idea from Bebop Deluxe first album.
I can't believe you just brought that band up. They were playing on the radio the other day. Futurama. Yeah.
Yep. I'm a huge fan of Bebop Deluxe. So
yeah.
And Axe Victim was the name of the album but it had a face on it, so it was a bit different than this one. But that's where I got the idea from, and I presented it to Soundmass, and they were like, "That's great, we want it." They also wanted the old logo, not the new logo, so I put the old logo on there, and yeah, it came out nice. And sadly, this is one of my least favorite Mortification albums, though.
It's got a bit more of a hardcore. We got a new drummer on this one, by the way. Adam Safaris, is that?
Yes. Because what's his name? The drummer from before? Names. Anyhow, the drummer who played on all the albums before, Keith Bannister, when they were touring US, he met his girlfriend, who is now his wife, and now he's been married for 20 years and has kids with her, and so he ended up moving to the United States. So that's why he left the band.
Right. Okay. But yeah, there's
not a bad reason.
There's a hardcore feel to this one. I mentioned Prong earlier. It's got that sort of earthy feel that especially the early Prong albums have. Hardware's got a nice sort of grungy feel to it. There's a nice big riff on that song. Awesome solo section and sort of like nice pummeling rhythms on it as well. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of.
It's nowhere near. It's just nowhere near as good as this one.
Yeah.
Although I do like the song "Metal Blessing," and that's the only song he ended up continuing to play live in later years as "Metal Blessing." Yeah, but even that song is not the best song in the album.
Yeah. We are plowing through this. I thought I was going to be up all night, but right. So 2002, a year later. Have we got a new lineup change on this one? We got Jeff Lewis on guitar and Michael Jelenic on guitar.
Yep.
And Adam, same drummer though, Adam Safaris on drums. And Mark McCormack again in the production seat, and we get Relentless. Another good one. This.
I think it was a return to form after Silver Cord is Severed, in my opinion.
Syncretize is a standout for me.
Web of Fire, another great song. God-Shaped Void kind of has that groove that you got from a couple of those albums. Priest of the Underground is a pretty standard Mortification song. New York Skies that was about the 9/11 attacks in New York. But yeah, I like this album, and he wanted the twin guitar thing. So he had 2 guitar players, and that's exactly what he got on here. So you're going to hear some things on here you wouldn't hear in past albums because, again, he's got 2 guitar players.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is not all those guys were from Australia. So they were having problems with getting the guys to be in Australia. So that's why you'll see as they move on, the 2 guitar players don't remain because it just didn't work out. It was just it was a logistical
what's the word? Logistics. That's the word I was looking for.
Logistical nightmare, and it was well before people doing home recordings, that often too. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, not today. I mean, you get bands today that have never even met.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I actually, everybody hated the cover on this too. They were like, it's so corny, and I'm like, nah.
No, I like it.
That's Steve Rowe, man. And the funny thing is, this is the same artist. The covers are all done by the same artist. That guy who did the Troy guy who did that cartoon cover for the live album, and the guy who did this cover, that's the same guy who did this cover.
Yeah, I like that album. I like the album cover. Yeah, I'd get it on a t-shirt.
All right.
Right. Moving on. So 2004. That's an astronomical time between albums by Mortification standards. Next up, we got Brain Cleaner. I like this album cover. This one's got nice.
It's a play off of Harry Potter.
Yes, and that's Steve's son as well, isn't it?
Now, the original cover, which that is right there, the original cover is Steve's son.
Right, yeah.
He got his son got mocked incredibly for being on that cover, especially as he got older because he was little there. So when the album was finally released on vinyl, it's a different kid.
Oh, okay.
Very similar, but different.
Yeah, because I did a different expression on.
Yes, they wanted him to be in awe of all the stuff coming out of the book.
Yeah.
So I went in, and it's actually, if you look real closely, it's Steve Rowe's kid's hair, but a whole different kid's face.
Right. Okay.
So it's no longer Steve's kid. I was like, at this point, if I was Steve Rowe's kid, it would be a badge of honor for me, that I was on his album cover. But
I mean, I also understand. Did cause a bit of controversy with the Harry Potter thing as well, which I don't see. He's in an old library. He's reading a book, obviously, a book of wonders, but which is
he's actually reading. If you look closely, it's probably hard to see it on there. It's actually the Bible.
Yeah, I knew it was the Bible, but it's a bit too dark on this CD for it to see. But I knew it was. Yeah, it's kind of.
But you've got another new member. You got a new drummer, and only one of the 2 guitar players from the last album.
Yeah, I forgot to go through the lineup, didn't I? Thanks for reminding me. So who is let's go through the lineup part up. Right, so we got obviously Steve, bass. So Michael Jelenic is on guitar. He was on the last album.
Yep.
And then we got Mike Forsberg on drums.
Who is a death metal drummer who plays in other death metal bands too, and has released quite a bit of death metal on his own.
Let's have a look. Martyr's Shrine. Oh yeah, I've heard of them. They sounds familiar.
But you also get a return to the death metal sound on a few songs on here too. Not the whole album, but that song "Boa Constrictor" is pretty much a death metal song.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Yeah.
But then you also get that song "ED" is another one of those fast, punky, short songs. Living Like a Zombie, another one of those kind of dark, heavy groove songs. I think this is a great album. I don't know that it's, it would make my top 5, but it would definitely make my top 10.
Yeah, to me, got a cool picture there, and it's a nice addition to the catalogue for me. For me, it maintains the standards, doesn't set any new ones. It's
no, not at all.
Mortification being Mortification on this one. Good solid release.
I think the chorus has started getting more repetitious at this time.
Yeah.
Like Brain Cleaner, the chorus is Brain Cleaner. So he started doing that a lot more, which I didn't care for as much. But still, I mean, a song like I said, Boa Constrictor is one of my favorite later era songs. It's just a total thrasher.
Yeah, Flu Virus is a another good one as well.
Yep.
But yeah, no, good album. Next up, right, have we got a couple of live albums or something in between? Because there's a bit of a no, it's that 2 year gap. We got a compilation coming up. I know that much. No, that's it. Racing the Goblin is next. So 2006. I've got this one, but I prefer that one. Yeah.
There's several different versions of this. There's 4 different covers, I believe. I have all 4.
I'm gonna look out for an edition with that album cover because
when the label approached me about doing the vinyl version of this, because I did the layout for this as well, they were like, "Which cover do you think we should use?" And I was like, "Emphatic, this one." Yep.
Yeah.
I was emphatic.
I mean, the angel on this one looks a little bit like the one on Triumph. Oh, you still there? Right. If he doesn't come back, I'll stop and then we'll just start again and we'll make this a 2-parter. Let's give it a minute. We've still got plenty to go through, so maybe a gap will be beneficial. Let's give him a sec. See if he messages me. Let's see.